Hello there, my name is Jasom Jensai. Welcome to Star Wars Duels. This episode will be the Bad Batch versus General Pong Krell. This is specifically the Bad Batch from the beginning of the Bad Batch TV show and Pong Krell from his story arc in the Clone Wars. If you haven't seen an episode of Star Wars Duels before, this is how it's going to work. I'll start by analyzing their short-range skills. Then I'll go over their mid to long-range abilities. After that, I'll discuss their tactics and style, before describing a potential scenario for how the duel would play out. The battlefield for that scenario will be the Tantive 4. Pong Krell is usually a pretty difficult duelist to study, because we never see him duel another Jedi or Sith. We only ever see him fight blaster-wielding opponents. However, this fight is one of the few where a Jedi will compete with a non-Force sensitive, or I should say a group of non-Force sensitives. That is not the only reason I find this fight interesting though. Krell is known for his hatred and disdain for clones. He became a traitor to the Republic, so who better to challenge him than Clone Force 99 themselves? Each clone has a particular set of skills that makes them extremely dangerous, but as Rex says during the Battle of Skako Minor,
it's hard to compete with a Jedi.
Each member of the Bad Batch is a skilled warrior, more capable than an ordinary clone, but each one has a specialty as well. Hunter's mutations make him an exceptional tracker. Basically, he has enhanced senses, and in addition, he's able to sense electromagnetic frequencies. While these skills make him a great tracker, they also aid him in a fight. His enhanced senses give him a greater awareness of the battlefield around him. In addition to his mutation, Hunter has gone through a lot of training. His go-to weapon in a battle is an electro blade. While most clones prefer long-distance combat with blasters, Hunter can get in close and use his vibroblade. Tech and Echo are both formidable warriors, yet their specialties lie with technology rather than with basic combat. Echo and Tech are both agile enough to charge battle droids without getting hit. Numerous times, Echo has hand-placed explosives on droids. However, neither is extremely notable for their close quarters combat. They are proficient, but not exceptional. As the sniper, Crosshair is the weakest at close quarters combat. Though he can still shoot quickly and accurately, Crosshair's speed is not that impressive compared to the others who all wield much more compact blasters. Lastly, we have Wrecker. Yeah, close quarters combat is Wrecker's specialty. Okay, maybe he's not quite that impressive. Wrecker is extremely strong. He's able to push 3 AATs over a cliff. He's able to lift a leg of a tri-droid. It was exerting so much force that the ground cracked open. Not only could he lift an impressive amount of weight while stationary, but he was able to carry an LAAT gunship door as a shield while running. Where Wrecker falls short is in his speed and his skill. Though he's not a brute, Wrecker is only about as fast and skilled as the other members of Clone Force 99. This is why Fennec was able to beat him. She sidestepped his punch and used his own momentum against him. However, Wrecker would not have been knocked out in a normal circumstance. His inhibitor chip was making his brain malfunction. One hit to his head, and he was out cold. Typically, Wrecker is much tougher. Tough enough to shrug off blaster fire, tough enough to survive blasts from Crosshair's rifle. Speaking of toughness, all the members of Bad Batch were equipped with modified Katarn-class armor, giving them a good mix of flexibility and protection. In conclusion, Crosshair is not optimized for short-range combat. Tech and Echo have decent speed but prefer mid to long range. Hunter's honed instincts and his skill with the dagger combined with his natural speed and awareness make him excellent at close quarters combat. But Wrecker is the master of close quarters combat for the Bad Batch. He's extremely strong and even more durable than his squad mates, who are all tough in their own right. Pong Krell is a Jedi. The primary weapon of a Jedi is a lightsaber, a short-range weapon. This gives Krell a massive advantage in short range. During his battle with the 501st, Krell demonstrated his incredible physical abilities. He demonstrated his raw physical abilities when he deactivated the lightsabers and began beating up the clones with his bare hands. He was fast enough to dodge blaster fire and strong enough to throw clones dozens of meters. Even when surrounded by clones, Krell was able to fight barehanded, no problem. Near the beginning of the battle, Krell jumped out of the window and dropped all the way to the ground, and survived pretty easily. Krell is fast and very powerful. Krell used a unique style. He spins his lightsabers like helicopter blades, deflecting blaster fire away and killing anything that gets close to him. Krell's dexterous hands are able to twist his lightsabers to any target within reach in the blink of an eye. If Krell is so dangerous though, how is he defeated? At the end of the battle, Tup lured him over to Death's Embrace. Yes, that's what the plant is called. The carnivorous plant picked him up and waved him around for a bit, but eventually Krell managed to cut himself free. He landed hard on his back. Krell was dazed for several seconds. Before he could react, he was stunned by a clone. While this does have more tactical ramifications than physical ramifications, it does demonstrate a lack of durability. But wait, didn't you say earlier he jumped out a window and fell dozens of meters to the ground? Yes, I did. Wait, who are you? You don't belong here. Get out of. The difference between the two falls is anticipation. In the first one, Krell jumped out the window. He did it intentionally and was able to focus on landing with force. In the second one, he was only focused on getting away from the death's embrace. He fell down, he didn't jump down. Thus, he landed on his back and demonstrated that when he is taken by surprise, he's not quite as tough. Krell's lightsabers give him the clear edge here. Katarn armor might be a lot tougher than Krell, but it won't do much to stop a lightsaber. Wrecker may be strong, but he would be slashed to pieces before he could get close. Hunter is fast, but not fast enough to get past Krell's 4 arms. The advantage that the clones have is numbers. They outnumber Krell 5-1, but we've seen Krell go up against harder odds and come away without a scratch. Krell has the clear advantage in short-range combat. Hunter's primary weapon is his vibroblade, which is primarily a close-quarters weapon. However, he does have proficiency with throwing it. In addition, he has just as much skill with his DC-17 hand blasters. Though he prefers shorter ranges, he's able to fight effectively from mid-range as well. Tech and Echo would be similar. Tech wields 2 DC-17 blasters, but Echo's electronic interface arm forces him to wield only 1. Between the 3 of them, there are 5 DC-17 blasters, all firing quickly and accurately. Wrecker wields a DC-17M blaster. It is a much bigger weapon than the DC-17, but Wrecker's enhanced strength allows him to wield it the same way Hunter and the others wield their weapons. Wrecker's blaster has a quicker firing rate, though it doesn't seem to hit harder than the handheld DC-17s. Wrecker is very accurate with his blaster, though the quicker firing rate naturally leads to a greater number of bullets missing when compared to his comrades. Crosshair is the real standout though when it comes to long-range combat. Hunter implied that Crosshair can hit a target from 10 clicks or 6 miles away. While this is very impressive, it's not really that useful in most scenarios. Also, this isn't really something we've seen Crosshair do, it's just something that Hunter implies he can do. What I find more impressive is Crosshair's ability to take aim and fire very quickly while maintaining extreme precision. During the Battle of Anaxis, Crosshair shoots droid poppers out of the air in the most optimized spot as calculated by Tech. Not only did he have to hit the baseball-sized target, but he had to hit it as it passed through a specific point. Later, he threw a bunch of reflective discs on the walls of a hallway. When droids followed him down that hallway, he shot a single blaster bolt. His shot deflected off the discs and cycles down the hallway, destroying an entire line of droids. The amount of visualization and precision that shot would take is incredible. Just think for a second about all the factors he has to consider. If he misplaced a single reflective disc or was off by a single degree, he would not have been successful. To conclude, Echo and Tech and Hunter all wield DC-17s. They're skilled, but not mind-blowing. Wrecker is of a similar skill level, but he carries a larger gun with a higher firing rate. As the sniper, Crosshair is the master of long range. He can visualize and fire with extreme speed and precision. Together, the Bad Batch are nearly unstoppable at long range. After Rex realized that Krell was trying to destroy the 501st and the 212th, he led a group of clones to arrest Krell. Krell was surrounded by almost a dozen of the best troopers. He launched a force push, knocking every single clone in the room off their feet. The clones were dazed for a second by the force push, but they quickly recovered. Krell ignited his lightsabers and began deflecting blaster fire. After deflecting dozens of blaster bolts, Krell escaped out to the courtyard. He smashed through dozens more troopers and escaped into the forest yet again, displaying his incredible blaster deflection skills and his force powers. So right away, Krell demonstrated his power in the force when he knocked almost a dozen clone troopers to the ground. Later, he duplicates this feat before he escapes. While his force pushes have decent power, what they lack is precision. He never singles out a single clone trooper with force, instead preferring to send powerful shockwaves that merely knock down clones instead of finishing them off. That doesn't necessarily mean he can't target a single clone, just that usually he doesn't. One of the most notable aspects of Krell's fighting style is his ability to defend himself from blaster fire coming from all sides. Using his unique style, Krell is able to block blaster fire of dozens of clone troopers. But if he is so skilled at defending himself, why did he run away into the forest? Krell is a proud Jedi. He disdains the clones. He doesn't see them as people or even soldiers. He sees them as numbers bred in a lab. So why would he run away from them when it would be such a humiliation to him? The answer is because though he hates the clones, he knows he can't beat them all at once in an open battlefield. Once in the forest, Krell was able to close the distance between him and the clones much easier. It was harder to see, harder to move, and the perfect place for Krell to cut his way through the clones, because he didn't have to engage them in long to mid range. Krell has an incredible level of defense. His ability to block the blaster fire from almost a dozen troopers is most impressive, but he rarely takes the time to deflect the blaster fire back at the shooter. This leaves him with very little long-range offense. Sure, he can throw out a force push, and he will when pressed for options, but while his force attacks deliver power, they aren't focused enough to do more than buy him a few seconds of time to run or close the distance. Against Clone Force 99, Krell would likely be able to defend himself at long ranges, but he doesn't have many options to retaliate. His force pushes would disrupt his attackers, but their Katarn armor would protect them from serious harm. Meanwhile, Crosshair's precision, combined with the rest of the team's constant blast fire, would continue to put pressure on Krell. Eventually, a bolt would get through. I favor the Bad Batch for their mid to long range abilities. The Bad Batch each have a specialty, and they use their specialties to incredible effect. Though, as a late addition, Echo has not really found his place in their tactics. Wrecker and Crosshair are generally the best at straightforward combat. Wrecker excels at short range, using his big muscles, while Crosshair excels at long range, using his big gun. Hunter keeps the team focused and coordinated. His enhanced senses and good instincts keep the team ready for anything. Oftentimes, the Bad Batch will use creative strategies involving Tech and Echo's technological skills. During the Battle of Skeko Minor, Wrecker threw Rex and Hunter up to the head of the Octupara Tri-Droid to kill it. During the test on Camino after Order 66, Tech reprogrammed the droids to use the built-in lethal blasters instead of using their own training blasters, and later in that training session, Crosshair shoots Wrecker's knife into the final droid to end the fight. The battle that I think most demonstrates their particular skills is the first one, on an Axis. Clone Force 99 is able to take out a small army in a frontal assault. As they charge the enemy, Wrecker uses a broken LAAT gunship door as portable cover. Meanwhile, Tech calculates the optimal spot to detonate a droid popper, Hunter throws the detonator, and Crosshair shoots it out of the sky. Though they have many strategies, almost all of them are very offensive in nature. One of their most basic strategies is sweeping a row, taking out the enemies, and moving on. Crosshair will usually seek out a vantage point from which he can survey the entire battle. Then he picks off the stragglers who could pose a threat to his teammates. The rest of the team will spread out, taking out the droids in close range. Even Tech and Echo will close in, though Hunter or Wrecker will usually lead. Tactically, the Bad Batch is very well rounded. They are very assertive. Though they lack defense, they usually have a pretty quick escape route. Each member has a specialty, and one of the key aspects of their strategies is creativity. They have embraced their mutations and love to show off the unique ways they can be used. Krell is very confident in his abilities, though he's willing to retreat when necessary. When surrounded by clones, he did fight at first, but in the end he retreated. As he ran, he used a couple force pushes, but during his battle in the forest, he used no visible force powers. This shows that Krell prefers to use his lightsaber abilities, but when he feels overwhelmed, he'll resort to his force powers. This overconfident mentality is further demonstrated when he deactivated his lightsabers trying to kill the clone troopers with his bare hands. Krell's overconfidence is ultimately his undoing. Top was able to easily lure him into a trap. All it took was a few blaster shots and an insult, and Krell was speeding toward death's embrace. Krell seems to use Form 1, Form 3, and Form 6, though that's certainly debatable. Krell's Form 1 is demonstrated by its constant movement. His lightsabers are always slashing blaster fire aside. He smoothly and quickly spins his lightsabers in wide arcs to cut through his enemies and to defend himself. I also believe he uses Form 3 because he keeps his lightsabers tight to his body. He surrounds himself in a shell of lightsabers. I believe he uses Form 6 because he exhibits traits from several other forms as well. At times, he's agile like a Form 4 user, at times he's grounded like a Form 5 user. Krell is a well-rounded and flexible style, so I think he has Form 6. The Bad Batch would quickly see that Krell is superior at short range and try to keep their distance. Krell will then have to take the offensive in the fight, which he would gladly do. This plays into their natural advantages and disadvantages. Krell is better at close range, so he would close the distance, while the Bad Batch are better at long range, so they would keep their distance. When Krell is at long range, he has the disadvantage, so he's more likely to resort to his force powers. Add to that the fact that he can't reach with his lightsabers, and he will likely use the force very frequently until he closes in. While many Jedi would simply close in by trying to outrun the Bad Batch, while deflecting their blaster fire away, excuse me, Krell will utilize his advantage in the force. Despite this, I favor the Bad Batch tactically. The Bad Batch have shown themselves to be creative and skilled. While Krell is no idiot, his overconfidence could easily be exploited, especially with Tech's explosive skills, Crosshair's sharpshooting and stealth skills, and Echo's hacking skills. The battlefield for the duel will be the Tantive 4. The Tantive 4 has two main sections, the Stark White hallways where the rebels were defeated by the stormtroopers, and the maintenance areas where Leia gave the plans to R2. The fight will start with Krell boarding the ship through the same hatch the Empire did. The corridors do not have much room for retreat, which gives a slight advantage to Krell, but the branching corridors would allow the Bad Batch to plan a surprise attack, and outflank or surround Krell. Not only that, but the ship is obviously a mechanical battleground, which means Tech and Echo have the potential to come up with some really creative ways to harness that power. I think the Bad Batch has the terrain advantage. So make sure to comment who you think would win, and with all that out of the way, let's begin the battle. We need this ship out of here now, Hunter yelled. Echo pushed his mind through the interface. He began to activate the engines and prepare the jump for hyperspace. Tech, where are the jump coordinates? To his left, a pair of lightsabers stabbed through the door and began carving a circle. Got it, Tech said. Uploading now. With a crash, the door flew towards where Echo and the rest of the Bad Batch were standing. Wrecker leapt forward and knocked it aside with a yell. A basilisk wielding a pair of green and blue double-bladed lightsabers walked through the doorway. As he did, the Tantive 4 began to break away from the Venator's boarding tube. The ship rumbled, but Hunter managed to keep his balance and shoot at Krell. Brace yourselves, Echo said. With a lurch, the Tantive 4 broke away and the air began to be sucked out into the vacuum of space. Krell managed to grab hold of an emergency hatchway. He stretched out a hand and Wrecker lost hold and began sliding toward Krell. With a brief thought, Echo closed the emergency vacuum hatch before launching the ship into hyperspace. Everyone fell to the ground as normal gravity returned. In a flash, the battle resumed. Krell was charging toward them. His lightsaber spun, knocking blaster fire into the walls of the corridor. Time to go, Hunter said. They began to retreat. Crosshair tossed a reflective disc onto the walls as they moved down the corridor. Blue blaster bolts continued to bounce away from Krell. One slammed into the wall, just to the right of where Echo was standing. When they reached an intersection, Crosshair stopped and took aim. His shot bounced off the walls where he had thrown his reflective disc and came at Krell at a surprising angle. Krell easily blocked the attack, but it gave Tech an opportunity to roll a pair of flash bombs right beneath Krell's feet. Shade mode, Tech yelled, right before the blinding light flooded the corridor. Krell threw an arm over his face, but he spun his other lightsaber to ward off any blaster bolts coming his way. Echo, find an interface and cut the lights. The rest of you, follow me, Hunter commanded. As Krell's vision cleared, Echo dashed down the side corridor. He heard Krell run after the rest of the Bad Batch behind him. He quickly pulled up a schematic of the ship in his head and located the nearest astromech interface. He turned left into a maintenance hallway and plugged into the ship. He let his awareness expand. After a second to adjust, he started using the security cameras as a visual input. Krell was chasing the Bad Batch down the hallway. A force push knocked them off their feet, but they quickly got up and began moving again. Ready for night vision, Echo said through his helmet comm. After 4 quick affirmatives, he cut the lights. In the instant between when the main lights shut off and the red emergency lights activated, Crosshair had turned and shot right at Krell's foot. Split up! Crosshair, you're with me, Hunter said. Wrecker and Tech dashed down the corridor, followed closely by Krell. Storage bay on your right. You can lose him in there, Echo said. Wrecker and Tech dashed from the storage bay. As Krell followed, Wrecker threw a crate at him. Hunter, you and Crosshair take the next left. It'll bring you right to Krell. Tech jumped into a forklift as Wrecker shot at the Jedi. Just before Krell got within striking distance of Wrecker, the forklift slammed in the Jedi. Wrecker scrambled away just as Krell managed to free himself from the forklift and slash its motor with his lightsaber. Hunter and Crosshair emerged from the door opposite Krell. Blaster bolts burst from all around Krell. Wrecker threw another crate at the Jedi, knocking him off his balance, but Krell launched the crate back at Wrecker with force. The crate slammed into Wrecker's chest, knocking him off his feet. Krell was charging towards Hunter and Crosshair. He launched them back with a force push as he deflected some blaster fire from Tech. Just as Krell reached the doorway, Echo slammed the door shut. Krell dove through the closing door faster than Echo expected, but one of his lightsabers slipped from his hand as he slammed into the adjacent wall. Hunter snatched the lightsaber off the ground as he ran. He turned and shot at Krell with his DC-17. Krell blocked the blaster bolts. Hunter and Crosshair ducked back into the storage hangar through another entrance, and this time Echo managed to close Krell out. Alright, I've got a plan, Hunter said as he and the others dashed out of the room. Echo, meet Tech and Wrecker at the bridge. The timing has to be perfect. Echo disconnected from the ship and began running towards the bridge. I'll lead Krell along the starboard hallway to the bridge. Crosshair, you set up on the port side end of the hallway. I want the rest of you in the bridge. When Krell reaches the bridge door, I'll give you the signal, and Crosshair will step into view. I'll throw my knife. Crosshair, I want you to hit it just before it gets within range. Jedi or not, the change in momentum should catch him off guard. At that point, Wrecker will charge out of the bridge and tackle Krell. It's dangerous getting close to Jedi, but we need to get his other lightsaber if we have any hope of victory. I'll take out his lightsaber. Tech and Echo, we're going to need you for back. Actually, Tech and Echo, I have a plan for dealing with this lightsaber, so leave that part to me. Alright, does everyone know their part? Got it, Echo said along with everyone else. Good, time to catch a Jedi. Echo gave a casual salute as he passed by Crosshair, who was already in position. Crosshair nodded back. Echo ran down the hall and entered the bridge. For a second, he was mesmerized by the swirling wheel of hyperspace. Crosshair, we've got a problem. Hunter's voice came over the helm comm. Krell is coming toward you. Don't worry, I came up with a plan for that scenario. Make sure you stay right behind him, Crosshair said. Echo jammed his hand into the astromech interface. Through the cams, he saw Crosshair toss a reflective disc onto the wall behind him, just before running across the hallway. As he passed by the closed bridge doors, Krell came around the corner. Crosshair tossed another reflective disc onto the wall as Krell made it about halfway to the bridge doors. Knowing Crosshair, it was probably exactly halfway to the bridge doors. Hunter came around the corner and began firing his DC-17 as Krell neared the bridge. Hunter, throw your knife now, Crosshair commanded. Hunter threw his knife straight at Krell's back. Krell turned to block Hunter's blaster shots. He jumped at the side, avoiding a quick shot from Crosshair streaking down the left side of the hallway. It ricocheted off the reflective disc on the end, sped back toward Krell, and slammed into Hunter's knife just before reaching Krell. The knife shot towards Krell's shoulder, but he ducked to the side, straight towards the bridge door. As this happened, Echo slid open the bridge door and Wrecker leapt towards Krell, firing his blaster. Krell twisted his lightsaber, slicing a gash across Wrecker's leg. Wrecker managed to knock Krell's lightsaber out of his hand as he fell though. As Krell shoved Wrecker away, Crosshair shot Krell in the shoulder. Krell turned toward Crosshair and launched a powerful force push. In that brief window of opportunity though, Tech ran forward and attached a small device to Krell's lightsaber. Krell knocked Tech away with a powerful kick. With no obstacles, Hunter Fighter's DC-17 at Krell. Krell force pulled his lightsaber from the ground and deflected blaster bolts, but Tech touched his vambrace, and the lightsaber exploded in Krell's face. Krell fell backward, but before anyone could take advantage of his weakness, he roared and stretched out all four arms. Crosshair, Hunter, and Tech were lifted from the ground and began grasping at their throats as if by an invisible hand. I will not be defeated by a bunch of mutants bred in the lab. I am a Jedi. You can't. Echo fired his blaster. Krell dropped to the ground with a solid thunk. There was a small blaster hole in his back. Echo pulled his hand out of the astromech interface. His awareness returned to normal as the team picked themselves up. That's one type of enemy I never want to fight again, Wrecker said, clutching his wounded leg. Let's just be glad we made it through alive, Hunter said. Krell has excellent defense, but the Bad Batch were able to keep him at bay with their superior long-range skills. What really solidified the victory for the Bad Batch was their tactics. They had a solid plan, but even more impressively was how they adapted when their plan went wrong. I think the Bad Batch would win a mere 55% of the time, but what do you think? Do you agree with the verdict? Is the Duel scenario believable? Could you do better voices than me? Make sure to leave your answers to those questions and more in the comments, and as always, may the Force be with you.